Assalamu alaikum everyone. Um, this is me Salman Anjum. I have opened this YouTube channel to put up some stuff from basic biology, and this is especially for those students who have never taken biology in their O levels or A levels, or if they are interested in understanding some basic stuff from biology, so they can of course get some guidance from the slides which are coming up. So if we move on, well, the topic which I'm going to discuss today is molecules of life. Before discussing further which molecules I would discuss, I want to just very briefly explain what molecules in fact are through the eyes of chemistry. So we know that when two atoms at least they join together chemically, they make something which is called a molecule. But that molecule is quite small in size. But if we talk about the molecules in biology, as you can see the name lipids, or if I just mention the name here, carbohydrate, for example, or the protein, they're not that small molecule just like we define in chemistry. In fact, we are just using the word molecule to define them as they are molecules in the case of inside the cell. Basically, they are quite complex in structure, they are quite larger in their size, and they are quite diverse in their function as well. So I have defined before two important molecules. They were carbohydrates and protein. So today I'm going to talk about lipids, which is a very important third molecule which is present inside the cell. So before explaining the functions of the lipids, I would say what lipids are. Lipids are those molecules by definition that if you try to dissolve them in water, they resist. They don't like water. They don't get mixed with water. So in short, you can call them as hydrophobic, or by definition you can say that they are sparingly soluble in water. So my question is where you can find these lipids, such kind of molecules. That answer is very easy. You can just find them in your kitchen. You go there and you try to search for lipids in your kitchen. First of all, of course, the example is oil or the fats, the ghee which is available in the kitchen. So what you do practically, you take a spoonful of oil and try to dissolve it in a glass of water. So of course you know, or you might know after performing it, that oil would hate to dissolve in water. So this is the property of the lipids, that they don't mix with water, right? So if I ask a second question, where inside your body such kind of molecules, the lipids, they can be abundantly present. So the answer would be everywhere. Actually, they are present everywhere inside your body. They are making certain important structures in your body. But apart from that, there is a lining of lipids under your skin. They are present or they are stored in the mammary glands. They are also stored in or around the hip areas in your body. So then if you want to eat lipids, what would be the sources? So the sources would be, you can get them from animal sources as well as you can get them from plant sources, right? So now we know what lipids are and from where we can find them. At least you can find them in the kitchen. Practically you can perform something with the lipids. If I further define lipids with respect to carbohydrates as well as protein, so how do they behave? So just to make sure what lipids are, at least they are not carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are sugars that you eat. Carbohydrates are bread that you eat. The rice, they are carbohydrates. While the proteins are mostly the meat part, for example. Or you can get protein from different sources. So lipids, they behave differently. Now you must be very, very clear. So what is the purpose of lipids inside your body? What they're doing there? They are doing two things. The first function of lipids is to make or participate in making certain cell structures. And a very important cell structure is cell membrane. So they are making the structure of the cell membrane. So I'm going to explain how the way they make the cell membrane. And their second function within the body is to produce energy. For example, certain fatty acids. They are lipids, they are a type of lipids, and they produce energy. Our body can kill them, our body can utilize them in the case when the body is deficient of certain carbohydrates. And there are many other functions of lipids, but we can discuss them a bit later maybe. And as I mentioned before, the examples of lipids are fats and oils. The fats, they remain solid at room temperature, while the oils, they remain as liquid at the same room temperature. So if we move on, so this slide initially is looking a bit complex, that a lot of things are going on this slide. So as it says, we are giving you here an example of one kind of lipid, which is phospholipid. As the name is indicating, that this kind of lipid contains a phosphate attached with it. So a complex is formed. So that complex structure is called phospholipid. And this type of phospholipid is making or contributing in the making of cell membrane. For example, you can see there, this is the structure of a full phospholipid. So this phospholipid contains this ball-like thing which is called or labeled as head, while this part is called the tail. So tail and head, when they join together chemically, they make the whole single unit which is called phospholipid. So what you do, if you take many phospholipids of this type and you keep on adding them over each other and keep on repeating them, so they make basically the structure of the cell membrane. So you know about cell membrane, that cell membrane is the outermost boundary in the case of animal cells, and same is true for the plant cell, plus they have the outermost wall which is called cell wall. But we are talking about the cell membrane. So cell membrane, whether it is coming from animal sources or the cell membrane from plant sources, it is exactly made by a double layer of the same phospholipid. So if I try to draw the phospholipid as well as the cell membrane, I can show you on my micro whiteboard. So as I said, this is one phospholipid. I have drawn here the head, I've drawn there the tail part. Overall it is called the phospholipid. So if I take one phospholipid and mention this way, take the second one, repeat here, take third one, repeat here, take fourth, repeat here, and continue repeating throughout to make a circle. So it will make a single layer of the cell membrane. Now what I have to do, I have to make a second layer of the same phospholipid, but this time in the slightly opposite direction, that the tail would be facing each other while heads would be placed away. This is the second layer of phospholipids. So if you keep on adding them and make another circle and complete it, so this double layered circle is called single cell membrane. So the question comes in here, that why the phospholipids, they are placed oppositely. That you can see the tails, they are facing each other, while heads are on the outer edge or on the inside the cell, or here on the outside of the cell. Let's say this is outside of the cell and this is inside of the cell. So the answer basically is, as I mentioned before, that lipids are basically hydrophobic in nature and they don't like to touch water. And cell is basically surrounded by on the outer edge with water, and as well as inside there is water. So water molecules, they can touch here only at the head part of the phospholipid. Exactly the same way the water molecules on the outer side of the cell, they can again touch the head part of the same phospholipid. So you can see very clearly that the tails, which are hydrophobic in nature, they remain closed inside and they don't like to touch with water, so they don't actually. So heads are basically made by phosphate, which are hydrophilic in nature, while the tails, they are hydrophobic in nature. So this way your cell membrane has two properties. One offered by the phosphate head, which is hydrophilic, while second offered by the tail, which is hydrophobic. So yeah, so we are done with this topic. So if you have any questions, of course, you can put those questions directly to me, or you can just put them under this YouTube video and I would love to answer them. Thank you.